Hello there. Welcome back to the channel. You may be wondering why I'm sitting in front of an empty bookshelf, or why I'm sitting backwards in front of a chair. Well, I'm a child of the 90s, and this is how people sat in movies to appear authoritative but approachable. But more importantly, I'm here to tell you the 9 most recent board games you will still be playing 10 years from now. I'll pick 3 games from 2023, 2024, and 25, because it's a lot harder to pick recent games that will stand the test of time than pointing to Wingspan and acting like I'm Nostradamus and predicting will still be played years from now. And to make things more interesting, I'll pick a light, medium, and heavy game from each of the 3 years. So let's start building our collection of evergreens. And obviously for the light game of 2023, it has to be SkyTeam. SkyTeam is a cooperative 2-player game where you and your partner are pilots trying to land a commercial aircraft safely, guiding planes through different airports and conditions as you roll dice, manage flaps, adjust thrusts, and engage in an endless stream of disastrous nonverbal communication. What makes SkyTeam brilliant is how perfectly it captures real teamwork in such a short period of time. And yet, despite that small time frame, you still feel this building tension as you creep closer to success or defeat, and it does it all in complete silence. That mechanically enforced quiet does so much heavy lifting thematically in this game because, over time you develop this uncanny connection where you just seem to know what your partner is going to do and where they're going to place their dice without speaking a word. Or you don't, and you both crash, and you realize actually you know nothing about your friend at all, and maybe you shouldn't even be friends. When was the last time he paid for beers? He eats all your M&Ms, and when he comes over, the game is deceptively simple. You manage your speed and tilt of your aircraft, all with a simple placement of a die, creating this beautiful push and pull cooperative dynamic of compromise and selfishness. Because you could take the best possible die for your side of the plane, but doing so may leave your partner more vulnerable to disaster, and his failure is your failure. SkyTeam is one of the few cooperative games where it actually feels like I'm cooperating with my partner rather than just performing tasks while sitting beside my partner. And for that to be accomplished in such a simple package that is easy to explain and easy to understand, it's immensely impressive. And the game is just so wonderfully short. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and yet it delivers a great narrative with a satisfying ending. Win or lose, you never feel like at any moment the game got boring or that you didn't have enough time. You're simply excited to see the next scenario and land at a different airport, or see what new weather condition is going to mix things up so you can blame the blizzard on the fact that you just crashed into another plane and not your own incompetence. And any game that allows me to obfuscate my own personal responsibility is truly a treasure for the ages. SkyTeam is absolutely destined to be one of those 2-player games that sticks around for an incredibly long time. It has everything you want in a short, cooperative experience that will keep it landing on the table for years. Now, there is only one medium weight game that can occupy this spot for 2024, and that's Thunder Road Vendetta and its expansions. Thunder Road is a chaotic post-apocalyptic racing and combat game where you're piloting a convoy of junkyard death machines down an endless highway trying to be the last car standing while blasting across ruined roads in your own personal car-destroying action movie. Listen, Thunder Road is not a game for nerds, meticulously planning out 8-step turns and optimizing their dice selection. Thunder Road is gleefully and unapologetically loud, dumb, and brilliantly fun. You will be blown up, rammed, thrown around, and unfairly targeted by supposed friends. But you can't let all the chaos and randomness irritate you, because those brutal moments are the whole point of the entire game. There are just loads upon loads of drama and silliness packed into this big box. But don't be deceived, because it's not all randomness. You are managing a handful of dice each round, deciding when to shoot forward, when to drift, and when to spend your best rolls on aerial attacks, or your many special powers thanks to some expansions. It's an insane party game feeling, but with some expansions, it has enough to make you feel like you have some semblance of agency over all of this chaos. And because these modular road tiles keep shifting the battlefield, you are constantly forced to adjust to whatever the game is currently trying to destroy you with. Thunder Road is very much a beer and pretzels experience. But I think there's just enough decision making here to make your victories feel, I don't know, just to feel earned and not just to feel as if the luck was on your side. But all those chaotic and seemingly random moments are part of the beautiful narrative Thunder Road is telling. That time you slipped on an oil slick to narrowly miss a choke point while everyone that was racing behind you ended up crashing into the rocks, or the time you avoided every single shot that came your way to go from last place to first place just the last second. I play I play a lot of games, and most have a tendency to sort of just kind of blur together pretty fast. Thunder Road lives in this rare space where you remember each game months later and laugh about it with your friends. 10 years from now, nobody is going to be talking about Thunder Road because of its beautiful elegance, but they'll still be playing it and recommending it because it reliably produces fantastic stories. A great medium weight game with its expansions that easily earned its spot among the evergreens. Next, we have a game that, despite how niche its theme is, it'll be one people never stop talking about and playing, and that's Hegemony. Lead your class to victory. Why disappear into a world of fantasy and role-playing knights and wizards when you can pretend to be politicians, businessmen, and an ever-shrinking middle class doomed to continually be pummeled by never-ending inflation, government and corporate exploitation, diminishing freedom, and the continuous onslaught of AI replacement? Hegemony is an asymmetric political economic game where each player controls a different social class in a modern country, pushing their own agendas through laws, markets, and a lot of very loud table arguing, all to lead their class to supremacy. Like through some form of magic, Hegemony manages to make players roleplay their respective roles organically while playing, rather than feeling forced through mechanics. When you're the working class, you are actively shouting at the middle class to get them to side with you against the capitalist class. And when you're the capitalist class, do you ever just start hating the government? It's this it's this really awesome ebb and flow between the players that emerges from what is a fairly simple worker placement game. A lot of that comes down to the way the markets and laws are all sort of tied together. There's an internal market where food, healthcare, education, and luxury goods are produced by some players and then purchased by others. And the prices are set by the players themselves, not the game. Working and middle class need those things to grow and improve their prosperity, while the capitalist is trying to squeeze profit out of every sale. And the state is adjusting taxes, subsidies, and policies so everyone stays happy. The game has this like amazing balance that makes every player feel like they're experiencing a system that is entirely under their influence. Turn to turn, the structure it's surprisingly simple. You simply have to play one card from your hand, take its action, maybe tack on a bonus, and that's it. 5 cards, and that's your entire round. It's like I said, it sounds simple, but trying to stitch these 5 cards into a coherent plan while everyone else is meddling with laws, shifting prices, and voting against you makes the entire process exhausting, but in the best way possible. As I said at the start, this is an event style game. And that's the real reason Hegemony will be around for 10 years. It leaves you with this awesome story. I don't remember the exact DP spreads, but I absolutely remember the game where the working class basically shut down the entire economy until the capitalists caved to their demands. Or when the state tried to keep everybody happy, but then ended up pleasing nobody and just lost horribly. The game just does this amazing job of having everybody collaborate on telling an amazing story at the table. A decade from now, Hegemony will still be one of those games getting recommended for its uniqueness and its creativity. Why ruin your family dinner over political discussions when you can do it more enjoyably and thoroughly with Hegemony? This was the hardest pick to make in the entire video because you have Bomb Busters, Fairy Ring, The Gang, and loads of other great games. But it had to be Agent Avenue. This is such a unique, quick, and fun two-player game. And no, it couldn't be Flip 7, because Flip 7 sucks. Agent Avenue is a competitive card game that combines bluffing, strategic set collection, and a race to uncover your opponent's identity. All set in a colorful, anthropomorphic world, players assume the roles of retired spies in a suburban neighborhood, outsmarting each other with cards that can score points or trigger special effects. First to catch their opponent wins. Agent Avenue is a fascinating lighter game because it feels it sort of feels as though it's always existed. It's not necessarily like clever or groundbreaking when you first play, and yet when you're sitting across from your opponent and sort of analyzing your small hand of cards while simultaneously, praying that you are the only human being on earth who has developed telepathic abilities, that's when you start to feel that you're playing something special. Each turn is incredibly simple, almost almost disarmingly so, but it's loaded with this sort of like nerve-wracking decision space. You simply have to choose two cards, one to play face down and the other to play face up. And then your opponent decides which of those cards they're going to leave for you and which the card they're going to take for themselves. There is there is such an immense amount of tension living within this simple decision space as you and your opponent grapple with multiple layers of mind games. What's cool is that at some point the mechanics of the game become completely intuitive. So much so that you don't really think about them at all. Instead, you're sort of lost within your opponent's thoughts. You're thinking about, you know, like who they are as a person, their habits, their tells, the way they smiled the last time they tricked you. Agent Avenue becomes less about chasing around these little wooden anthropomorphic animal silhouette thingamajiggers and more about forcing you to fully engage with the person that's sitting right across from you. And when a game is able to accomplish that, that's when you know it's a game that's going to stick around for a long time. Plus, it's cheap and people always need to hit those like free shipping thresholds somehow. It is easy to imagine Agent Avenue still being talked about years from now because it manages to tell a fun story in a matter of a few minutes. It's the kind of game you laugh about after playing and joke with your friends about how you tricked him with that last Daredevil card you played face down. And games that let us share stories, well, those games are forever. Next, we have one of the best cooperative games released in years. Slay the Spire. Slay the Spire, the board game, is a cooperative deck building campaign game where players climb the iconic spire together, building and upgrading their character decks while battling enemies, managing relics, and choosing branching paths, all to die to the final boss and do the whole thing over again. While I play this solo sometimes, I especially love it as a cooperative experience. There's something so enjoyable when myself and a buddy struggle against some monsters and then sort of like after we're done, we divvy up the loot. It feels sort of like my days playing Diablo without one person picking up all the loot and then running ahead of me and picking up everything and just leaving me with absolutely nothing to fight the final boss. I will never forgive you, Josh. I will never forgive you. Just figuring out who should get what treasures and how you should share your goal to buy the perfect items to combo with your character, just, I don't know, it just elevates the partnership experience and just makes the whole game so incredibly enjoyable. The one thing I really love about Slay the Spire, and I think what makes it a medium game staple, is how easy every status effect is to track. It's not like Sentinels where you're cross-referencing, 1,000 different things every single round. Here, things are easily handled by cards that trigger from the opening dice roll and status effects that simply disappear after a single use. It's all very intuitive and it keeps you focused on what really matters and what you're having fun with, the combat. The cooperative combat here is exactly why you'd want to play this one over the video game. You are having a blast the entire time, finding the perfect combos to synergize with your abilities of your class and the potential of your partner. It's just a ton of fun knowingly handing out status effects to the enemies because you're purposely setting up your partner to bring down the gauntlet, the beat stick for a huge attack, or enjoy your friend running defense for you while you get to be the damage dealing hero for the round. And the game accomplishes this awesome feat in an incredibly easy to understand deck builder with an enjoyable roguelike experience. And I haven't even touched on the deck building portion of the game. Every time you defeat a monster, you get to upgrade a portion of your deck. And that could mean flipping a card to its better side because every card is double-sided, or it could mean drawing from your own personal upgrade deck that features even more powerful and awesome cards. The game is offering you loads upon loads of choices, and those choices align perfectly with the cooperative experience. Because now, when I'm upgrading, I'm thinking about how I can get the best deck possible to synergize with my friend. This is what cooperative games are supposed to be. For such a simple deck builder mechanically, Slay the Spire has no business being as good as it is. This is one that will easily stand the test of time. Oh, I should tell you that we recently started a Patreon. I know we're one of those creators now, but I figure since I'm unfortunately between jobs, that I could kind of go all out on YouTube and see what I can do. I love making videos, and I genuinely think we're doing something here that you won't find anywhere else. Those cinematic documentary videos, like the playing with myself solo gaming video, they're to me, I feel like they're movies, and you're not gonna find them anywhere else on YouTube within our hobby space. And they take months to make. But with your help, I think we can be a bit more regular with those styles of videos. And no, this isn't some blackmail thing where I tell you to give me money or I'll stop making videos. I'll always make them because it's my passion. It's something I really love. You're simply helping me make them a bit more regularly and pushing the envelope a little further. I think we offer lots of good stuff, so head over and consider funding. Heck, we were recently offered a Raid Shadow Legends deal. That's right, we've made it. We Raid Shadow Legends deals. We said no, but if you want us to keep saying no, you have to support us. That's right. I'm blackmailing you with the threat of Raid Shadow Legends. So anyway, this message is brought to you by NordVPN and BetterHelp. Protect your identity and your sanity. I'm just joking. We're not sponsored by anybody. Except for you, maybe. Potentially. Love it or hate it, there is no denying it will still be entertaining and maddening people in 2036, and that's Arcs and the Blighted Reach campaign. Arcs is a spacefaring trick-taking strategy game where you're running your own galactic empire, doing your best to see them rise to absolute power by playing multi-use cards to move fleets, wage wars, grab resources, sway councils, and occasionally toss unfortunate space dudes in jail. Admit it, before I even explain anything, you probably already know how you feel about Arcs. It lives in people's heads as either a bunch of random crap sort of stapled together, or this like perfect cardboard embodiment of one hell of a good time. No, it's not a perfect game, but it's the kind of design that feels like it was specifically made for you if you like highly interactive and slightly unhinged conflict games. It's a game that's swinging for the fences, and sometimes those are the games that stick around forever. Now, the card play is where a big chunk of Ark's excitement comes from. Every trick you lead sets not just the suit, but the actions that other people can take at the table. And while you can deviate from that and perform different actions, it tends not to be as strong, which makes the entire decision space really interesting. The game is constantly forcing you to read the table, sort of like pick your moments and accept that sometimes you're not going to get what you want. And sometimes you're going to get hosed by both the game and your opponents. To me, that mix of like simple rules and exciting, sometimes unpredictable results is exactly the sort of thing that keeps games like this interesting and relevant 10, 20 years from now. Combat in arcs leads very heavily into a sort of like risk management. It's not just the highest number wins. You choose which dice to bring to your fight, and then that choice changes how recklessly or cautiously you're willing to be. It makes battles feel like little mini stories. You commit too hard, you lose a system, and then suddenly you've overreached and you might lose. Or you nail the role and you feel like this like tactical genius. Arcs gives you the emotional arc of a full-on space war game, but in under 2 hours, which is exactly the kind of playtime that keeps a game coming off the shelf 10 years from now instead of gathering dust. Then you have the ambitions and fate cards, making the game even more exciting. Declaring an ambition, it's sort of like when you were a kid and you were standing on top of a snow hill, and then during recess you told all the other kids that you're the king of the hill. You're sort of just it's sort of just like asking for trouble. But you have to be bold or you're going to lose. And as a response, everyone dogpiles you or attempts to scoop those points from you through shouting, bargaining, and threatening each other like you're in some deeply broken space parliament. And the campaign system through the Blighted Reach, it just sort of amplifies all of that stuff. Like the powers that you gain and they sort of evolve over time as you get a unique identity. Outcomes from games carry forward into the next game, and you get those like wild swings where you think you're dead, and then something new happens, and then all of a sudden you're enemy number one, and everyone's gunning for you. Arcs. Arcs and the Blighted Reach tells this like super messy and overly dramatic space opera that you will remember far longer than how many points you scored in the latest Euro. Arcs and its campaign system feel like one of those games that's just going to be in people's collections for a heck of a long time. No, it's not a mass market evergreen or anything, but it's one of those like cult classics people will still be recommending in 10 years when somebody asks, what's a really aggressive, weird space game that will make my friends absolutely despise me? 2025 was a great year for light games and for party games. And while I think there are two that will still be playing 10 years from now, there is only one that is guaranteed, and that is, oh shit, Hot Streak. Hot Streak is a silly gambling party game where players bet on their favorite awkward mascot racer to make it across the finish line first or crash into the mascots and destroy their chances of success. Because in this game, you can bet on almost anything that facilitates laughter and loads of shouting. This is not the type of game that we typically feature on this channel. We usually like heavier games that have just like loads upon loads of layers of depth and strategy. Hot Streak, though, Hot Streak Hot Streak is dumb, random, low skill, a little juvenile, and just a hell of a lot of fun. Hot Streak has players placing two bets during every race. You can bet on who might win, or you could make a side bet and say, who's going to crawl across the finish line or go out of bounds. What makes betting even more fun is that you can further push your luck by making your bets risky. Bigger payoffs with bigger risks. Hot Streak is a game that encourages loud and obnoxious fun through its limited mechanics, because you're a lot more invested emotionally when you have more to lose. Plus, if the bombardment of American commercials for online gambling have taught me anything, it's that betting is awesome. And I know it's awesome because really rich celebrities tell me it's awesome. Now, it's not all random crap. You do have some small semblance of control in this game, because every race you know almost all the cards that are in the deck, pushing the races forward, or backwards in some cases. Plus, you can slip in your own secret race card in the deck between races to screw with the outcome and assist your bet, which facilitates a little mind games among players, since you can see what the other people are betting on and hopefully use that to your advantage. Okay, all right, it's not that deep. I get it, but I did say this game is dumb, and it's certainly not going to be for everyone. I am not a party game person, but once in a while it's fun to be a little silly and yell at friends, like with the right group, Hot Streak creates the kind of atmosphere that you'll remember for a very long time. And sometimes the things that stand the test of time the best are the things that are the dumbest. 2025 was a year of a lot of great party games. But Hot Streak is one that I think will stick around for years, not just because it's a really good looking game, but also it's just a blast to play with the right group. Okay, so this one's probably a bit heavier than your typical medium weight game, and that's Old King's Crown. Old King's Crown is a super interactive card-driven war game where players clash across three different fields of battle: bluffing, negotiating, flanking, murdering, and using whatever tactical advantage they can muster through clever card play to gain the most glory and win the game. I love that this game is just so deceptively simple. You simply need to play a card in each of the three regions, since you get to participate in every single battle. But the hard part is trying to figure out what your opponents are playing, since all cards are played in secret. Old King's Crown employs those mind games that I love in board games, and that always get me excited to play again, because you're either left feeling like a tactical genius or an absolute fool. Usually it's a fool. Like I said, unlike a lot of other area majority games, Old King's Crown makes you an active participant in every battle, and the interaction in this game is sort of it's reminiscent of the way a lot of Euro games used to be. The game has me feeling a little nostalgic sometimes. Everything you do, from the battles to the journeys or council votes, all have you actively engaging with everyone else at the table, even when bidding for new abilities for the round. Like, you could take the ability that's available to everybody in the open market, or you could simply snatch the one being used by your opponent to make them hate you and question your friendship. And honestly, isn't that what board games are meant to do? And the game is just, it's super asymmetric, with all the factions having their own unique cards and one-time use abilities. There's something about these that I really love, because it leaves you constantly throughout the entire game agonizing on like when the perfect time to use these powers are. And there's something about that decision space that just, I don't know, it makes the game far more pleasurable. Even though half the time I'm playing, I am constantly just holding on to these powers and then never actually using them, because I keep waiting for that right moment, and the right moment never comes, and then I lose. And then I lose, and it's my own fault. I wonder if maybe I'm just bad at games. But here's the thing. If you're the kind of player who hates take that type stuff, or aggression or stealing, this game is not for you. And that's fine. But if you're like me, if you believe those elements are what create unforgettable moments, then this game is one you're going to love. And it's one that you'll still be recommending to other people 10 years down the road. I guarantee it. Old Games Crown is the epitome of a love or hate game. It's destined to be a cult classic that certainly won't be in everyone's home, but it will be one of those types of games that those who love them will never stop talking about them for many, many years to come. I know I won't. I've already included it in 2 videos back to back, maybe even 3. And finally, one of the best campaign dungeon crawler board games on the market. You know the heavy pick for 2025 has to be Elder Scrolls: Betrayal of the Second Era. Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is a large-scale fantasy dungeon crawler campaign game set in Tamriel, where players build deeply customizable characters, tackle modular quests, and explore a living world that emphasizes easy-to-manage campaign progression. So alright, I know exactly what you're thinking. You're looking at this and saying there's no way a giant campaign game like this is going to be played 10 years from now. Surely there will be like a second edition or revision, some other game that's going to replace this one. But hold on, if there's one thing I think Chip Theory Games has proven is that they don't abandon their flagship games. Too Many Bones is like, I think it's over a decade old now, and it's still receiving expansions and active support. I would wager that the Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era is built on that same production philosophy. This is a game that I think is designed to last and entertain for years to come. And that longevity comes from one very important design decision. This game doesn't live or die by a single overarching narrative. The kind of campaign where, you finish and then you have no reason to go back. Instead, it puts its focus where great RPGs always shine: awesome gameplay mechanics and character building. The story progression, it's nice and short, which means you get to come back to build an entirely new character every time. And holy crap, does this game ever let you build characters. What does it mean to be a Nord spellsword, or a Khajiit wizard, or some insane hybrid that doesn't seem to work on paper and yet in practice becomes some insane juggernaut of destruction? Every time you stumble into a fun combination, you immediately want to try another one. That urge, that compulsion to tinker is the beating heart of this game. Because it's far more than just race or class, of which there are a ton of different varieties. You're choosing skill lines, you're shaping play styles, you're constantly tuning your build, adjusting your abilities, and engineering what feels like pure fun. And even when your plan doesn't fully come together and the build doesn't seem to work, you just don't care. You don't care because the whole process is deeply interesting, exciting, and if you lose, that's okay, because you can just start all over again and do it again. Because bad build or not, the combat here, it always feels enjoyable. In Elder Scrolls, combat feels like this satisfying tactical puzzle, where you are constantly worried about positioning and dice choice, timing. The fatigue and cooldown mechanics introduce like what feels like real tension, forcing you to decide when to go crazy and when to have some restraint. Every encounter feels distinct thanks to different enemies, objectives, and terrain, and the system always keeps you engaged without becoming overwhelming. And it's not just the combat that makes this game feel alive. The exploration here, it's kind of perfect. The world map feels like this living and breathing organic thing. Some cities are under siege and surrounded towns are unsafe. Black Marsh is plagued by brutal weather effects. Valenwood is riddled with blight. Each region feels like its own unique place, complete with interesting rules and threats. And the random encounters you meet along the way, they just add a ton of flavor. And your choices, they provide a sense of permanence. The entire world, it just feels like it has this like lived in and real quality to it. And any game that can accomplish that feat feels like it's something that's going to last a very long time in people's collections. Ultimately, Elder Scrolls is a campaign game that I feel respects my time. I don't need to play it 3 times a week for 6 months. I could drop in, complete a handful of major missions, and walk away feel like I've experienced something epic. And to me, that is a mark of a game that'll stick around for a very, very long time. And that's all the games from the last 3 years that I think will still be around for another 10 years from now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you think there are better games that are going to outlast these ones. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff, and join our Patreon. That's it for today, guys. See you later. Shit. Oh, I should have sat down. Oh my God. I'm getting old.